Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you are watching me from. Welcome one, welcome all to this channel. You are all very welcome. Thank you because of the new subscribers. Thank you because of you supporting this channel, liking the content, sharing. Let's believe that you're sharing the content that you're seeing over here. Thank you so much. If you're watching me for the first time and you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribing ni bure kabisa. It's that red subscribe button down there, red like my dress, yes. Red button, subscribe and join Team Baraka. If you are a returning subscriber, you guys are the reason that I keep coming back with more and more information. My name is Sharon Baraka, and one more time, you are very welcome. Thank you because of all your support, your overwhelming support. Thank you guys. Kila wakati mnanishangaza tu, so keep sharing. Let's grow this channel. We are still in the US, but nakwambia naona tumepata tan. Jua huku it's very hot. It's summertime, but this is like proper summer. Very hot, very humid sometimes. Yeah, we don't get this kind of heat in the UK. Never ever have we ever had this kind of heat in the UK. So we are enjoying while it lasts, although it can be a bit overwhelming for us. Anyway guys, in today's program, I want us to talk about a topic that is very interesting. Gen Z's parents. Ebu kujeni hapa tuonge. It is you guys that I want to address. So if you're a Gen Z parent, I'm talking to you. I am a Gen Z parent myself. Na vile tumeona, before all these shenanigans of Gen Z happening in Kenya, tisijui Gen Zs are telling the president to do this and that, and before all these shenanigans of Gen Z happening in Kenya, some of you, in fact most of you, did not even know that the word Gen Z existed. The reality is it has always been there. And this is not the only generation. There's different generations, and that is what I want to talk to you about. But primarily, I want to talk to Gen Z's parents, because the way Gen Z's wamekuja, ile retu wamekuja nayo, inafaa tuwajue, inafaa tuelewa watoto wetu. So call every Gen Z parent, tell them Sharon Baraka is calling you. Come, let's gather here and let's talk about this generation. But before we talk about this generation, stop there. Let's rewind. Niseme kama mkurugenzi, piga rewind selector hapo. Yeah, let's rewind back to time and let's start with the facts of the different generations that has always been there, that has always existed, that you people did not know, but Gen Z has actually made you know there's a generation called Gen Z. Pause there. So if you go back time in memorial, if you were born between 1925 to 1945, generation yao watu wanaitwanga traditionalist. They are very, by the way, just like their names, they are very traditional. The way they do their things, they have to follow a certain tradition, and if things don't follow that tradition, to them it is wrong. Some of us were born by your generation, what were 1925 to 1945. If you are born to a parent who was born between 1925 and 1945, you were born by a traditionalist. Therefore, the way you were raised in a way to follow tradition, because those people followed tradition to the book. Yes, to the book. Sitaongelelea hao watu sana because I don't know much about their generation, but after them came another generation between 1946 to 1964. There is another generation ya watu ambao walikuja wanaitwa baby boomers. Most of us, majority group of people in my generation were born by baby boomers. Now they were known for, because they were raised by traditionalists, they followed the tradition of their parents. Therefore, they raised us following that tradition that they had picked from their parents. You must dress a certain way. You must walk a certain way. When you're praying, you must pray a certain way. You must uphold yourself in a certain way. Na hawa ndio walitupiga. tulikuwa tunacharazwa. You know, this generation, unajua watu wa generation Z, they know nothing about kupigwa. Watu wa boomers, baby boomers, si walitucharaza. We were punished proper. And it is not just in Kenya, by the way. This cut across. I speak to a lot of my white friends wa my generation, na walikuwa wananiambia pia walikuwa wanachapwa. But this is because their parents were raised by the traditionalist, and they followed that tradition when they were raising them. That is the reason why they were raised believing that the way to discipline a child is by whipping them, is by beating them, kuwacharaza kabisa. Okay? Those parents, not only have they given birth to some of my generation, but the next generation that I'm going to talk about. So the baby boomers gave birth to Generation X. So let's talk about Generation X. Generation X are people that were born between 1965 to 1980. Kama wewe ulizaliwa between 1965 to 1980, you are a Generation X. Those are the people that were raised by the baby boomers. Those were the people that they were whipped. Tulikuwa tunapigwa in arrears. Yani ukipigwa kama hujafanya makosa, unaambiwa nimekupiga because of makosa ya kesho. Nimekupiga because of makosa ya kesho. Au ni wale tulikuwa tunapigwa mpaka unaenda kujificha. Kwa sababu ukifikiria tu unaenda nyumbani, upate mama yako na baba yako, when especially you know that you have done something wrong, kafakora. Uwezi hapo. This generation that was not just punished by their parents, they were punished by the neighbors. Yani neighbor anaweza kutana na wewe na uko kwa barabara, akupeleka kwa mama yako na baba yako. Na ukifikisha huku uende uripotiwe ati umepatikana huko na tumakosa kidogo, you know you're in for it again. Generation X wamepitia. Generation X were the silenced people. In fact, research says Generation X is the forgotten generation. Because of the way they were brought up, it is said that they grew up not wanting stress. You know, so when they became adults, walipofika mali ya kujijua na nini, they forget when they were young. When they were young, your punishment, there was no escape. You ni lazima ungepigwa. But when people from Generation X grew up, they wanted no stress. They had already experienced too much stress, too much trauma, na hiyo kupigwa. So they are the forgotten generation. In fact, you don't hear too much information about Generation X. Now from Generation X came another generation, the Millennials. Now, they were born between 1981 to 2000. Hao ndio Millennials. Hao ndio watoto wa 2000s. 1981 to 2000 ndio hao Millennials. Hawa now, they were born by Generation X. So tradition, hawakupata traditionalist. Most of their great grandparents would be their great grandparents, or the traditionalist, walikuwa washaondoka, so they never met them. They probably met their grandparents who were the baby boomers, yes. And the baby boomers, remember, they still had the tradition of their parents who were the traditionalists. But in between, kuna another generation. In between the millennials, kuna Generation X na kuna baby boomers. So hawa, the millennials, they are the new birth. Hawa ndio walikuja when we were thinking the world is coming to an end. Na pia they also experienced beating. Millennials pia walipigwa because there's also that tradition yenye it's still being pushed into them since they've already met their grandparents, and some of them have already also met their great grandparents. Kwa hivyo kucharazwa pia hao walicharazwa. These ones are the ones that push education into them. We taught them that education is number one. Kwa hivyo we instilled a lot of discipline to them. By the way, hawa ndio pia waliachwa na their parents, most of them, because now the parents of these ones ni hawa nimekuambia Generation X. Because the Generation X did not want trouble, wengi walitoka wakaenda kutafuta makazi huko nje, wakaachia watoi nani? The grandparents. So pia hao walichukua hiyo nini ya kuchapwa, just like the generation X. So generation X na the millennial babies, they were punished. Walichapwa, kuchapwa properly. Okay? Now, this is when we come into this generation ambao lots of you people, especially watu wa Kenya, you're talking about. Mnaita generation Z. So umeona, before you get to generation Z, kuna zingine tulianzia traditionalist, tukakuja kwa baby boomers, tukakuja kwa generation X, tukakuja kwa the millennials. Now we are generation Z. And let me tell you, by the way, hii kitu ya generation is not a new thing. I don't know about other tribes, but kwa Wakikuyu is the same thing na kusema rika. Utasikia the men saying yede wa rikaria, whatever it is. It's the same thing. It's only that these generations zinajulikana tu hivyo na hizo majina, but most of you parents, most of you sasa wenye wameza generation Z, na wale wameza generation Z is the millennials and the generation X. Those two categories ndio wameza watoto ambao saizi wako generation Z. Who are those? Is people who were born between 2001 to 2020. All those are in the same category. They are all generation Z or generation Z. Let me tell you about this generation. This is a new generation. This generation did not meet their great-grandparents, the traditionalists, that used to punish us. This generation has not been instilled about the traditions. You have to know your culture. You have to know your traditions. They know nothing of that because they have no link to their traditionalist great-great-grandparents. These have been born by watu wa millennials and the generation X. Remember I told you, generation X, because they did not want stress, majority waliondokea scene. Hao ndio uliwapata wameenda jobs uko nchi za nje, wakaachia watoi nani? The grandparents. But did they do any parenting to their children? Majority of them? No, they did not. Majority of them waliachia watoi their grandparents wawale. So tumeongea, so now you know who the generation Z is or the generation Z is. Let me tell you, this generation, the reason why you are hearing so much about them is because, first of all, hii generation haikupata their great-grandparents, the traditionalists. So then they have nothing to do with tradition. They have no knowledge of the traditions, the tradition that was instilled to the baby boomers, to the generation X, to the millennial babies. Hawana, they did not. Remember, these ones have been born mostly by generation X and by the millennials. Now, they did not want stress. So these children have been raised very differently. This is the only generation that speaks one language. Wherever you go, by the way, kama ni Kenya, kama ni UK, kama ni USA, kama ni Australia, wherever generation X are, they all speak the same language. They do not carry tradition. In fact, they don't know tradition. Ask a child born in the US to Kenyan parents, they will tell you, I am Kenyan. But can they speak a single Kenyan language? No, they all speak English. Go to Kenya. They know they are Kenyans, they know they are born in Kenya. Do they speak any of their mother tongue? No, they all speak English. They all speak the same language, either English or Swahili. At least those that are in Kenya. They speak one language. This generation, Z, they are not politically led. These ones don't know anything about politics. These ones, they don't even care about their brothers and sisters, you know, like their back brothers and sisters. They would die for their friend more than they would die for the person that they are born with if they don't have a close relationship with them. So they can be siblings, but if they are not close with their siblings and they are closer to a friend of theirs, they will die for their friend. They don't know anything about going back home, about going back to the roots. These ones, they don't know. That is why I'm telling you, Generation X was the last generation to know a lot about the tradition. Even if you ask the millennial babies, they don't know too much about the traditions that the Generation X was born with. They don't. because most of them our millennials by the way ndio walienda wakaachia wazazi watoi wawale, wakaachia kina generation X yenye it did not even want stress. So imagine umelelewa watoi na mshosho wa generation X na hataki stress. As a millennial baby, si umeachia mama yako, na mama yako ni wa generation X, na watu wa generation X ni wao watu tumesikia hawako wanataka stress. So they raised these children without stress. This generation Z, when we were pushing for them to go to school. These ones hawajachapwa. They don't even know what being punished is. By the way, to them being punished is child abuse. This is what they have been taught in school, and this is what we have also raised them to believe. We got other strategies. We got other strategies of punishing these children other than beating, because hapo mbeleni tulikuwa tumepigwa kabisa. The stress was too much. That is why you find a lot of parents, the ones that have raised generation Z, generation Z, hawajawachapa at all. Hawajui kiboko ni nini. So when they are coming with that confidence, because they don't know punishment. Sasa wanauliwa, because wenye wanawaua ni akina nani? Baby boomers that were raised by the traditionalists, that know that to discipline a child you have to beat. But now they are not just beating, they are killing, which is really, really sad. So then they know to speak up. Let me tell you, simi nimekwambia mimi, I am a mother to Gen Z. These children will sit you down and they will tell you facts. These ones you sit down on the table and you negotiate. Si ati unamwambia do this changuvu atiende akafanye. No. These ones, if there is something that they want to discuss with you, they will sit you down on the table. They will iron their issues. They will discuss like mko kwa koti. And they will come with facts. Na unaona wanakushinda by the way, because the facts that they are giving you are actually facts that are believable. You cannot argue with them. You can't. You cannot argue with a fact, my friend. You cannot. And that is why our Kenya, our Gen Zs, they are coming to the government with those same facts that they present to the parents back at home. They are presenting those same facts to the government because they do not understand why things are going wrong when we are telling you these are the facts. But the government is responding in a very negative way by killing them, which is really, really sad. It should not be happening. In today's world, it should not be happening. But maybe to help you understand the reason why some of these decisions are being taken is because most of the people that are in those high ranks in the government, they were raised by traditionalists. You had no negotiation with a traditionalist. Unachapwa, you have to do or you do. There was no other option. Whatever you've been told, ilikuwa ni kama dictatorship system. These Gen Zs don't know how to be dictated is. No, they know to argue the facts. They don't know about you dictating things to them. And that is why kuna discord hapo katikati. Yeah? That is the reason why. Let me tell you something else, another fact about our Gen Z. Across the world, kama amezaliwa Kenya, amezaliwa UK, amezaliwa US, Australia, whatever, they all dress the same way. Hao ndio wanavaa ututunguo tunafika hapa. All of them. They either wear very short, I don't know if they call them tank tops or whatever they call them. Somebody leave me a comment down below. Nguo zao zote za wasichana huwa zimefika hapa. Boys, they will hood up. Wanavaa nguo alafu wana hood up. Tight jeans na wana hood up. Girls, when they feel that they have dressed modestly, they want to impress you, they will wear oversized clothes. Unaenda kwa duka mtoto ananunua nguo even bigger than you. Unamuuliza hii ni ya nani? It's mine, mom. Anavaa oversized nini? Oversized jumper. Unashindwa, what is that all about? Whether it is sunny or not, atavaa hiyo, but they are doing that to impress you. They'd rather do that because when they wear these short ones, si mna complain. So they wear the oversized one. Now wakivaa the oversized, you still complain. Do you know these ones? They wear Crocs and socks. Ati saa hiyo that is now the fashion. Sasa amevaa. Ukiona mtu amevaa Crocs na socks na hiyo oversize, amevaa kabisa to impress you. And they all like that. Waangalie wherever they are. They all like that. I listen to my nephews and nieces who were born in Kenya when they are communicating now with my children born the same generation. I told you, they speak the same language. Utafikiri wote wamezaliwa pamoja. They speak the same. They think the same. And that is why we are coming to understand more about Gen Zs than we have understood any other generation there before. And after Gen Z, from 2020, children who were born from 2020 to currently, there's no end to this one, au now wanaitwa Alpha, the Alpha generation. Alpha means the beginning. We don't know what these ones are going to begin. This is a space that we are watching. But from what I have seen, hawa ni matata kushinda hata Gen Z. This one is ones to look out for. Because you know, Alpha wamezaliwa na kina nani? Wamezaliwa na Gen Zs. Ebu waangalie. Wamezaliwa na Gen Zs na wengine wamezaliwa na Millennials pia. Waangalie. This is a space to watch. Anyway, I just wanted to educate you on that kwa sababu a lot, you know, my daughter just came the other day akaniambia, Mom, why is every Kenyan parent talking about Gen Zs? Like this is the first time they've heard about Gen Zs. Gen Zs have always been there. She's even wondering what is the big deal about it. Hey, parents of Gen Z, nimewaelimisha. So that is the different generations zenye nimewaelezea hapo. Let's understand our children, and I hope the Kenyan government also gets to understand this generation and stop treating them harshly. Get to understand them, and you'll be able to reason with them. The reasons they are saying, the things that they are saying is because they have gone to school, they are lawyers, they are well educated, they can think for themselves, and they can see when things are going wrong. The same way they come and sit with us at home, they table things out when they know things are going wrong, is the same thing they are doing out there. And this generation, wanga wameshikana, I think this is the first generation that do things together as friends, not even as a family, but as friends. Wanaenda wanashikana, they will go out with their friends and they will leave their family, because to them, friends are more important than family. They don't have that tradition that you have to stick with the family. That's it for now, guys. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. Again, my name is Sharon wa Baraka. And until I come with another one, for now I say Baraka.